Welcome back to the Oscar Project Podcast, the show where I discuss Oscar-nominated films year by year. I am your host, Jonathan Eaterberg, and today I'm bringing you an interview with Jens Kevin Georg, director of the short film Crust, which recently won the Silver Award at the 2024 Student Academy Awards. Before I jump into the interview, please be sure to subscribe to the show in your podcast player so you can get all the newest episodes as soon as they are released. If you like the interview and want to hear more, please consider leaving a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Jens Kevin Georg is a writer and director and self-described football fan from Germany. He studied at Film University Babelsberg Conrad Wolf and is pursuing his master's at the Academy of Media Arts, Cologne. He joins me on the podcast to talk about his short film, Crust, which recently won the Silver Award in the narrative category of the 2024 Student Academy Awards. Jens, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So your film focuses on Fabi, a young boy who has to prove himself to his family by getting his first scar. Where did the initial idea for this film come from?
So one of the first inspirations came when I thought about, at first it was two cousins. One of them gets a scar and the other one is jealous of that. And I thought of the concept of, what if someone is jealous of something that is not something that we actually like to have? Started reflecting on that because I used to be extremely jealous of people who were courageous and who were able to just get scars without thinking of consequences. And this is how it started out, and then started reflecting on my own first scar, how I got it, how I reacted, and what maybe changed after getting that.
Wonderful. And what was that first scar? Do you mind sharing that with us? How you...
Of course.
Is it similar to the film, or was it something completely different?
No. So I went ice skating, and one of my best friends decided that now is the perfect time for him to kick me in my shin with his ice skate. And afterwards I still have quite a beautiful hole in my shin, something I will never forget. I have something from my best friend always on my body. And yeah, the whole stitching process, and like after getting the wound, I was quite cold and hard, and not how I used to know myself. I used to be quite a sensitive boy. I used to cry a lot, but then I found myself reacting like, in quotation marks, a man. And I liked myself being that man, and only later on reflected that maybe during that time I lost something of myself.
Yeah, for sure. And now the young man who plays Fabi in your film, Philip Capel, you're fortunately able to bring him to the Student Academy Awards. It was wonderful seeing him there with you. What was the process like trying to find the right actor to play him? And how did you know that you had landed on him as the correct person to play Fabi?
I had amazing assistants with Leah Arkmon by my side, who works at a youth actor casting agency. And so she had already some experience with youth actors. And we, first of all, gathered names and pictures of young actors who already had experience, because I wanted to work with actors with experience. And Philip, he was very early on top of our list, and he had such an intense video in which he describes his life and in which he introduces himself, very different to all the other kids, and such an interesting physique. So Philip was very early on one of our favorites, and then we met him. And at first, he was quite different of how I wrote the character Fabi. And I needed some time to actually grasp that difference and reflect. And then I found out that what he has to offer for that role, which is his nervousness, and he's very much on the move all the time. That was something that wasn't written in the character. But later on, I found out that this is actually quite enriching to the film, because Philip's Fabi is a Fabi that is always fierce all the time, and he is always on the lookout, and he's always like reacting to what happens around himself because he's so nervous. And then actually like what he had to offer was even better than what I imagined.
Yeah, I wondered if that was something that he had brought to it, because I did notice that he was always noticing the things that everything that could possibly go wrong in any given situation.
Yeah, that's very much the deal.
So you have speaking of things that could go wrong, there is a roller coaster that plays a very central role in the film. And was that part of the original idea for the story, that you wanted to have something like that? And also, why did you decide to tackle something so complex, so big, and probably so expensive in a short film like this?
Luckily, and not only because of luck, but because we worked very hard, it wasn't that expensive. We didn't have to buy a roller coaster or build it. We found it in the forest of Poland, still working as a part of an amusement park. And the roller coaster was in the script very early on. Like probably one of the first things I had for that script was that roller coaster. And after some time and after writing, for me now, what it is this huge, enormous, actually piece of love that a grandfather wants to give to his grandchild. And it's like this very dangerous but still but still very there's so much effort to put into that. And that's why I wanted to have it big, because I wanted to show the pressure that comes with that roller coaster, but also that it comes from a place of love and desire to connect with that boy, and that there's so much effort Vinny, our grandfather, has put into it. And I think that image, that roller coaster, really walks that fine line between putting pressure on Fabi, but also showing the affection the grandfather actually wants to share with that boy.
You mentioned the grandfather there, and obviously we have the father of the children as well. They have these scars all over their bodies. It's kind of one of the central things in the whole film. I thought the makeup effects for those scars are very well done, especially given how what an integral part to the story they are. Tell me a little bit about kind of what went into those makeup effects and making those scars look so good, since they were so important to the film.
Yeah, so we had an incredible makeup team, Laura Wronkiewicz, Hannah Weikart, Jana Erger, who were tirelessly like on, first of all, creating the look, finding the right kind of scars, and then finding ways of how we actually could streamline it in such an efficient way, because there wasn't so much time shooting, but because we were shooting with kids, for the grown-ups, we had times before and after. And to be honest, for me, having the actors in the makeup trailer for such a long time, for me, actually, it was perfect, because we were sitting inside and I was able to just, while the makeup artists were doing their magic, we were able to talk and chat through the day, and like I was able to guide them through the whole day shooting, and give them their preparation, and also prepare myself together with them for what's actually happening on that day. So I'll probably just give all my characters scars for every day, just to give that quality time to the actors and me. That was quite nice. Basically, I let the artists jam a bit, and they had ideas which part, like they were very much analyzing the bodies, and we were looking at what happened. We were like, what would fit here, what would fit there, and what is an efficient way to do that. But one scar that was very important was, and that is a spoiler, so everyone who hasn't seen that film, you have to close your ears now. When Fabi gets his first wound, that wound is very much inspired by our German soccer hero Bastian Schweinsteiger during the Soccer World Cup 2014. He got a cut on his head, and I sent the picture of him bleeding to my makeup artist and said, that's how I want Fabi's wound to look like.
That's cool. Like how you're bringing in a little bit of your soccer fandom and football fandom in there.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Now, one of the other elements in the film that probably went a lot of preparation into this is the family tree painting, and we see images of Fabi's family, his ancestors getting their first scars, and obviously that's some of the pressure that you were talking about earlier. If you can talk a little bit about who designed that and how did you go about populating that with several generations of his family?
So we had a team for that as well. The head of the team is our set designer, our production designer, Linda Brunner, who did an amazing job, like coordinating everything. Also, fighting that roller coaster was also her job and her achievement. And so we started out with like exchanging different inspirations. And the thing we have in Germany are quite gruesome youth literature, which is very brutal. Like there are like Struwwelpeter and Max and Moritz, to books we get kids for education to learn how not to behave. And they are extremely brutal, and kids get their fingers chopped off and their hair burned off and drowned, and all of this in a quite childlike, like all of this is like accompanied with childlike artistry, and we were very much inspired by these like folkloric paintings. And also one film that was very inspirational was Midsommar.
Very much. I can see a little bit of the inspiration there as well from both of those sources. Now, I mentioned it at the top. Obviously, huge congratulations for being named the silver medalist in narrative category at this year's Student Academy Awards. That said, what was your favorite part or the most memorable part of the awards and the events in London last week when you were there?
Hugging everyone and being able to see how different departments who worked on that same film met each other actually for the first time and connecting, and having that film to once again, after even 2 years after shooting, being able to connect new friendships through that. So, for example, one of our makeup artists met our original score composer for the first time, and they became instant friends. Like actually experiencing things like these connections. These were very memorable experiences for me. And of course, like meeting all the other guys, you talked to some of them already. Such bright young filmmakers from all over the world. That is just incredibly valuable, and I will hold that very close to my heart forever, I think.
So are there any festivals or screenings or any place where people can check out the film coming up in the next couple of weeks or months?
Yeah, it's 2 Academy qualifying festivals in Spain, Alcina near Madrid, and afterwards Izmir in Turkey. And I plan on attending both of those festivals, so please talk to me. I will be lonely, especially in Turkey.
We'll definitely hope we have some people attending those so they can come and say hi. Now, I have a couple of questions not specifically related to the film, but before we move on to those, is there anything else you want to touch on about Crust?
Always feel free to ask me for a screener. I'm very happy to share the film, and please be open about how you feel about the film. I'm very interested in hearing different opinions.
Wonderful. Well, this might be the hardest question I asked, but if you had to pick your top 3 films of all time, what would they be?
Okay. Even though it's a cliche answer, it's 2001 Space Odyssey is number 1.
Okay.
Because it was the first film that actually, I was 18 when I watched it, and I grew up watching a lot of Hollywood films, and that one really broadened my experience, and I was blown away. So I will hold that film close to me forever. Very big contrast. Second film has to be Superbad.
Okay.
Because it gets me every time I watch it, and I cry so hard every time during that ending. And it's just part of how I grew up, and I have a very personal relationship with that film.
Sure.
And the third film, probably the Royal Tenenbaums, because Wes Anderson, even though I now have some problems with his newer films, but he has been such a big influence on my life. So I think I have to mention one of his films. And I think his best one is The Royal Tenenbaums.
Excellent. Good choices all around. Now, if you could invite any 3 movie characters to your next dinner party, who would they be and why?
Movie characters.
Yes, not the actors, the characters themselves.
Yeah. Okay, let me think. Patrick from in Banshees of Inisherin, because I just want to give him a hug. He seems like a lovable guy, and his speech about being nice just touched my heart. The main character from Kajillionaire, because I could just relate to her. I think she's a fun person to be around. And lastly, Hunt for the Wilder People, Ricky Baker, because I want to sing that Ricky Baker song with him, that birthday song. It's one of my favorite scenes ever, when the auntie sings him that song.
Sure. Very good. Should be an interesting dinner party for sure.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any books that you could recommend that you've read recently? They could be fiction or nonfiction and don't have to be related to movies.
Mm-hmm. So my favorite book is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, because it's incredibly touching, and I learned so much about life and dying, and it's probably one of the more spiritual experiences I had while reading a book. And also because it's very much related to Crust, Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. There are some connections between the book and our film, so if you have not read it, check it out.
Fantastic. We'll put some links to those in the show notes so people can check them out if they've never read them before. And lastly, before we wrap things up here today, do you have any other projects lined up that you're working on? And also, where can people follow you on social media so they can stay up to date on what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. So I'm currently in the early research stages and early writing process of my first feature film, which will be set in the time of the Romanian Revolution, winter 1989, where a whole community starts to dissolve into nothing after 800 years of history. So this is what I'm working on right now. And please follow me on Instagram. It's Jens __ Georg is my Instagram. And Crust _ film is our film's Instagram. Just contact me, write me a DM. I try to answer all of them.
Excellent. Well, we'll put links to those in the show notes as well so people can follow you, and look forward to seeing the feature film once you're ready to show it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, Jens, thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate you sharing your film with me, sharing the stories about what went into making it, and congratulations again on the Student Academy Award.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you again to my guest today, Jens Kevin Georg. His short film, Crust, was a Silver Award winner at the 2024 Student Academy Awards. The Oscar Project podcast is written and produced by me, Jonathan Eacherberg, with editing assistance from Joshua Eacherberg. If you want more movie coverage, check out the Oscar Project online at theoscarproject.substack.com. Be sure to come back for my next episode where I will be speaking with Hannah Rafkin, director of the short film Keeper. Until then, I hope to see you at the movies.